It's Gonzo again. Now, I know I haven't posted anything in about almost a year's time, but today I have something very important to talk about. Now, even though I'm a funny guy, actually, my topic today is of a serious nature. Today is, no kidding, the 2nd of January, 2013. And the topics of the day, there are three main points that I want to cover, but the topics of the day seem to be us averting the fiscal cliff, as they call it, by the House passing a bill, I think it was yesterday, and then also the Sandy relief bill, which should have been passed already but wasn't. The last thing I want to talk about is what's ahead. There's a lot of talk about certain issues that are going to be hitting the agenda in the government uh, this coming month, and one of them is the immigration reform. Now, all of the information that I got is it's very simple to find. In fact, the government does a pretty good job at disclosing everything, pretty much every bill, word for word, as tedious as it is to go through it. But everything that I got today was from www.house.gov. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the fiscal cliff bill. It's actually known as House Resolution Number 8, American Taxpayer Relief Act of 2012. Now, I looked through this bill after watching a report in the news today, and several things caught my attention. It is a taxpayer relief bill. It does do a lot of what they said it was going to do, make permanent some of the tax cuts for the middle class, increase taxes for the wealthy, namely the people who make $450,000 more a year. If you're single, 425,000, I think. But if you look through the bill, just like you would look at any other bill, you can see a lot of the stuff in there that just is questionable, right? So, for example, on Section 312 of this bill, talks about an extent, and this is just a list of extensions, tax credit extensions, if you would. Section 312 here, extension of a 7-year recovery period for motorsports entertainment complexes. I don't know quite exactly what that means. I'm sure it has something to do with motorsports, but I'm not sure that that's a burning issue for Americans today, especially us being in the deficit that we're in and haven't hit the ceiling, reportedly. Here's another questionable one, laughable at that. Section 317 is an extension of special expensing rules for certain film and television productions. So they get a tax credit. Section 329 is a pretty good one as well. Extension of temporary increase in limit on cover over rum excise taxes to Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Rum excise taxes to Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. So they get a tax deduction. Not sure if that's a real burning issue at all. Although I wish I could drink all the rum in the world right now, because just reading this makes me want to be drunk. So the bottom of the bill addresses, and I won't go into details on that here, but it addresses the sequestration. One of the things that's important as you read through the actual bills is that a lot of the language, it kind of builds upon other acts and other bills that have been passed previously and signed into law. So you'll see if you look at the bottom of the bill where it talks about sequestration, where it'll tell you that certain sentences or words are striked out or stricken from the original bills, and it will reference those bills, and you can find all those bills in house.gov or through the Library of Congress website. So the second point I want to talk about is the Sandy Relief Act that wasn't passed. A lot of people were very, very pissed off today, namely the governors of both New York and New Jersey. Actually, the governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, went on television today. It was pretty brutal, attacking the Speaker of the House and members of his own party that are in Congress. It was pretty incredible. But maybe I could shed some light as to why this Sandy relief package was not passed, and it's known as House Resolution Number 1, Disaster Relief Appropriations Act 2013. Now, under Title 2 of this bill, they have the some important information that pertains to where some of this money is going to be allocated to. One of the agencies that the name here is the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. And this pertains to their operations, research, and facilities, which $373 million is being allocated to. Item 2 under this title gives $10 million to improving weather forecasting capabilities. So, although important, I mean, again, this is for Hurricane Sandy relief. The people come first, but apparently this administration gets $10 million of it. Not sure if this is directly related to recovery acts. Maybe it can help prevention later. Maybe it can help identifying storms sooner at a later date if it happens, but not for Sandy relief itself. Item 5 under the same subsection allocates $150 million for necessary expenses related to fishery disasters as declared by the Secretary of Commerce for the calendar year of 2012. This is for the whole calendar year of 2012, not necessarily due to the Hurricane Sandy. Now, under the same title, same organization, the NOAA, their procurement, acquisition, and construction section is allocated $109 million. Now, item 2 over here allocates $9 million to the NOAA facilities damage from Sandy. Okay, so if there's damage from Sandy, that is directly related. But the next item is the hidden good times, if you would. $44.5 million for repairs and upgrades to the NOAA reconnaissance aircraft. Incredible. Item 4, $8.5 million for improvements to weather forecast equipment and supercomputer infrastructure. Again, these items 3 and 4 can help us have the equipment necessary to avoid a disaster maybe for 2013, as the act is titled. It is for the calendar year of 2013, but not sure if this is a priority right now. Speaking of priorities, or not so much, is there's a section again under Title II of this bill, House Resolution 1, that talks about salaries and expenses, namely for Department of Justice administrations. So for salaries and expenses for the FBI, it's $4 million is being allocated to their salaries. Now the deal is it has to have something due to disaster relief or something. The DEA, so the Drug Enforcement Administration, gets $1 million. The Anti-Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the ATF, gets $230,000 allocated to them from this bill for their salaries and expenses directly related to any national disasters. Here's one that caught me pretty good too. It's the Federal Prison System Building and Facilities. They get allocated $10 million for necessary expenses related to Sandy, and this is to remain available until expended. So until the money is spent. So they're gonna get that money and until they spend it, and on and on. There's more stuff in there. So those are the two big nuggets, really. The Fiscal Cliff Bill, the American Taxpayer Relief Act of 2012, and the Sandy Relief Bill, House Resolution 1, Disaster Relief Appropriations Act of 2013. Now, one of the things I read, I forgot where, but it was very interesting that there's talk about immigration reform coming up on the agenda. Now, we passed a bill which was necessary, I'd say, right, to avoid the fiscal cliff with all this trash in it, right? All these tax deduction extensions. The Sandy Relief Act, or that has so much crap in it that I can honestly see why it wasn't even tackled in the House yesterday or even today. And now they're talking about immigration reform, whereas it is necessary, just like the Sandy Relief Act, just like the Taxpayer Relief Act. I would say it's necessary, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere, and that's just my personal opinion. Anyway, we'll have to stay tuned to see what kind of crap is what kind of pork is going to be in that bill. So again, I hope this information was useful to everybody. All these bills, again, full disclosure, on the government side, you can go to house.gov, you can go to whitehouse.gov, you can go to senate.gov, and you can see the current legislation that's being passed or debated or even vetoed in the case of the White House.gov site. So hopefully you found this a bit informational, even though you're probably upset about a lot of what you heard here. But again, this came straight from, no kidding, the bill. I pulled this information from the bill, and it's definitely a good read. So even though a lot of the main points that have been discussed in the media have been passed, especially with the fiscal cliff bill, the grass is not always greener on the other side, and you need to realize that, and you need to be able to appreciate that and understand that and know where to find the resources. Again, www.house.gov or senate.gov or whitehouse.gov. You can find all your legislation there, and I urge everybody to keep yourselves informed, and the only way to do it is to go directly to the sources. Don't listen to any of the garbage out there that the media puts out, because they're going to be biased anyway. So first-hand data, that's where it's at.